dressed as clowns, some of them, like not ironically. They're supposed to be behind the path, and apparently they're allowed to just come and encroach upon women's space. So it's absolutely horrendous that women come to speak about our rights, and these kids, misguided children, come and try and stop us speaking and intimidate us. And they're right up against us. It's, what's the point in getting a permit? And then now they're shouting pathetic turnout. And what they don't realise is because these arseholes always intimidate women. Women have lost their job. There's a whole poster of women that have lost their jobs. It's absolutely nuts.
Those t-shirts with women, are they just online?
Yes. So I've got a special section for Australian, which means you don't pay such ridiculous postage. They're posted from Australia, but you buy them through the UK store, but you have to just go to the Australian exclusive and then choose Australian postage so you don't get charged. Ah, misogynist little girl.
Who would want to turn out to be confronted
Yeah.
by this scary scene?
So anyway, so they're allowed right up here.
Yeah,
They're actually
in
supposed to
case their
be,
permits.
they're supposed to be sort of here, but these kids have never been told no, which is why they don't appreciate what biological boundaries are, i.e. if you're a adult human female, you're a woman. It's just nuts. What's that there for? Why do we want a racist flag? So there's, look, they're all surrounding us. It's like Hyde Park all over again.
Oh, did they do this in Hyde Park?
They circled us in Hyde Park. Our British police allowed them to circle us.
Well,
Women just coming to talk about our rights. And these kids
Hobart
just ridiculous. Well, at least they're dressed appropriately, those clowns. Just unbelievable. This is going to properly start at 12:30. It's not as bad as Chicago, you're right, Sar. But it might not be as bad as Chicago, but this is absolutely horrendous.
Did they get even closer in Chicago?
Oh, they were like, as long as in Chicago, as long as they didn't touch you, they were right here. As long as they didn't touch you.
So the police said that they are here to keep people safe, even though I said they're breaching their permit
Well, how are they going to
conditions.
they're not going to be able to keep us safe.
And I said it was the police officers
Look.
and horses who were being assaulted in Melbourne by the trans rights activists.
Yeah.
And they are letting them surround us here. So I don't know how TAF police are going to keep us safe.
I want to thank the trans activists for proving our point about being intimidated by entitled boys and their cheerleaders. And the reason there aren't more women here is because you intimidate and scare them.
The amount of women I get messages from in Tasmania who support us but are too scared to lose their jobs or their kids.
Oh, girls. Oh, girls. You didn't fight for the rights you're giving away. So I'm not going to start yet. I just wanted to say that. So the police are basically letting them come all around us. So I hope the press get a decent idea about what's going on, which is they surround us, they try and intimidate us.
So my auntie's safe on the way to come here.
Posie Parker, is your fashion sensitive to an FM radio?
It's funny you're talking about me. Right, so I'm just going to let you all see still exactly what we're looking at. Look. So we're looking at all the way around these totalitarian little fascists with their stupid Nazi little styled flags. just intimidating women who want to talk about not having penises in their daughters' changing rooms, not having their daughters' backs broken on Australian football. Absolutely ridiculous. Not sterilising children, not having men in women's prisons. And this is that these kids come out and go, no, we want to sterilise kids. We want to stop you talking about sterilising kids. We want to stop you talking about women getting raped in prison. Just unbelievable. Look how close they are. So we're going to start at 12:30, but I just thought I'd let you see. They were supposed to be, so if you look where those girls aptly dressed as clowns are, about 2 metres behind that is where they're supposed to be sound. You'll be sterilised, love. Well, what's the alternative? We either stand firm or we let more and more kids get sterilised. We get more and more kids get gaslit at schools. You know, there's no choice. Once you know what's going on, you can't go back to not knowing. You can't unsee the fact that they are gaslighting children and putting women at grave danger. It's just like these kids have no idea what they're supporting. That groomers support trans youth. Oh, she's a woman, just here to listen to women.
Posie Parker, fuck off back to TERF Island.
Oh, TERF Island's magnificent. What's the time?
12:26.
Okay. So we're just going to wait. You need to stop sterilising kids. Oh, this is going to be a good one, people, because they're right up close and personal so they can hear the arguments, and they've been told they're not allowed to shout too loud because it will disrupt Parliament. So let's see. Let's see. What is she shouting about? There's a woman going, be heard, be brave, have a voice, as she stands amongst a mob of people trying to silence us. Basically, people, once you can utter the words that women have penises and that sex change is possible, you can pretty much say anything. Pretty much say anything. Oh, good. Let's see how it manages now that we do this. Ah, we got little babies in amongst us. They know what sex is. In fact, they can recognise it in less than like a second. Hi, so I've got a microphone right here. If you're happy to be on it, I'm happy to talk to you. I just wanted to warn you. Okay. Do you do the thank the lamb, the way? Do you do it?
Because I don't even know how to do it.
Okay.
want everyone to keep their eye on my Auntie Christine.
Absolutely. To welcome to country.
Not the strongest tree.
Or not?
It's a custom to acknowledge. Actually, you could say welcome.
I'm not going to do it.
No, okay, that's good.
I won't do it because it's not
I
my...
can say something that's more to
Is that all right? Okay, thank you. Just because I feel I get it wrong and it'd be really disrespectful,
Yeah.
and it's the last thing I want to do. Okay. Well, I'm glad they're close enough to hear some truth this afternoon. Okay, so what these little kids who've got the afternoon off school seem to want to say is that it's a small turnout, and it is, because women are genuinely afraid of you. So well done. Well done. The way we start this, I think that's... Have you got it? So this is going to really upset them, because it's like women being unashamed in speaking the truth. And I know it's something, especially the women in that group, find really difficult. So the way we start it back in the UK and globally, because actually, you've only got one lead, because actually what happens in the UK is the same that happens here. That these kids who have never fought for a damn thing in their lives come out and try and stop women from talking. So this is how close the police have let them gather, which is demented. So anyway, I'll carry on, and what we know is that these microphones are so good that at home they can't be heard. So what we do is you have to say TERF at the end of this. What a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being a TERF. Thanks so much. Well, they've come to prove our points. They'd like to stop people talking because they have no debate. So let's start saying the things that they can no longer say, which means they can no longer think, which means that they do no longer think. Can you smell that? Isn't that not... that's what they did elsewhere. It's like literally dealing with babies. No woman has a penis. No man has a vagina. Non-binary is fucking nonsense. And transitioning children is abuse. And what these children want us to believe is that they will intimidate us into silence. But it will not happen. I will not be cowed, and I will not be afraid. And you can shout all day long until your voices are hoarse. But what we have in this country is a total decimation of women's rights. Because there are no such things in Tasmania as sex-based rights. So what does that mean? That means men raping women in women's prisons. That means, oh yeah, women have never been told to go home before. Oh my God, I'm so afraid. It means that in the schools, children are gaslit into believing biological sex doesn't matter. There's tiny little women in this crowd who before too long will understand what the importance is of sex-based rights. And right now they have no idea. They get on their knees to fillet those men, and eventually it won't be enough, girls. Eventually you'll be in a situation where you will have to turn your back on this cult. When you're sexually assaulted, when you're afraid, and when you realise that boy with a penis in a skirt isn't really your friend at all. He's your next man that will sexually assault you. And even when that happens, and you've been here gladly cancelling women, it will be those women that you betray right now that will pick you up and look after you in your hour of need. So this is Let Women Speak. And despite the fact that these demented, deranged, confused children come to try and stop us from speaking, we will continue to speak. It's not going to happen. The police have let them right up against us. I don't know what the importance is of a permit. We might as well just pick up and go and stand by those doors. In fact, why don't we? Can we not just go and stand by those doors? Why can't we do that? Why can't we go and stand by those doors? Can I do that? Right, I'm going to go and stand by the fucking doors of the Parliament if they won't help us. I think that's only... Right, what I think we should do is we should go and stand by the doors of Parliament, because then they might get told off, because they're allowed to break the permit. Why can't we break the permit? Why can't we go and walk right up to those doors? And then maybe the police will move us on when we know that they won't move them on. Right, I'm going. Can someone bring this? I'm not fucking standing next to loads of people. Okay, then we won't have ants. Can you bring that? Can you get my case? If their police won't look after us, then I'm going to stand in front of the steps. I'm not going to be told that we have to abide by our fucking permits and these people don't bother. So we will stand here and we will talk and we will be heard, and maybe the police will actually stop them. Absolutely outrageous. Can you bring that right close, please? Really close. I'm not doing it. I'm not being told all the time that we've got to be compliant, while people who try and silence and intimidate women get to fucking stand there and get protected by the police. It's really disgusting.
Totally agree. You don't need the microphone anyway.
Right. So now they're down there. If they come up here, maybe the government will actually have something to say about it. Absolutely shameful. Right, we don't have a permit to stand here, just like they didn't have a permit to stand right next to us. So this is what happens. If you don't get your police force to protect women, trying to talk about no girl dick in our changing rooms, no men in women's prisons, no children being sterilised in this bloody state, no children at school being told that girls can be boys and boys can be girls, and if they don't adhere to the new cult, they get socially ostracised. We are in a situation where men, nefarious men, even politicians, they will use any means necessary, any language necessary, any smears to stop us being able to speak.
Why do you stand with Nazis though?
Why don't you go
Why are
away?
you standing with Nazis?
Who did? Who did?
Seriously?
No,
I know
no,
it's hard that I'm
no.
not feminist than you.
I'm not a feminist. I'm not a feminist.
What is this? Let me
Right, this girl here. Go away.
stand with Nazis.
Where are the Nazis?
That's great. Well, it's not happening here.
When politicians in this country smear women. Oh, no, no, no.
You all stand with Nazis and you stand with terrorists.
There's the woman from Hobart City Council who wants to speak.
Good. Good. Absolutely. It's absolutely disgusting that there are people that want to stop women talking. Right, can I just say we don't touch anyone? Women don't have penises. Why are they allowed up here as well? Who's in charge of the police operations supposed to be protecting us? Dear politicians, it's about time you got your police to protect women. It's absolutely shameful. We are gathering to speak to say women don't have penises, no man has a vagina, stop sterilising children. There's a massive great big bloke there. That man right there is in changing rooms with your daughters. That man right there, he's in changing rooms with your daughters. He's in toilets with your daughters. He's playing sports against your daughters. Look at the size of him. Absolutely disgusting. We try and meet. We get permission. We just want to speak the truth. We want women to be able to come out into the public square without fear of intimidation from these masked arseholes. Look, now surrounding Parliament. Fine, the news cameras are here, let them in. Let them totally do this. Little boys with their male violence and their stupid fucking earrings. Look at that, look, I'm going to show you. We've come to the front of Parliament, right? We've come to the front of Parliament and now we're surrounded by trans activists again. Look. Fucking deranged arseholes. I'm so sorry if I'm swearing too much. Just literally want to be able to speak. And this happens. Absolutely despicable. This country has no democracy. There is no democratic right to speak. Absolutely shameful. Look, look. We moved right outside of Parliament. I hope you're crying, love. I hope you're crying your eyes out. There is nothing more fascistic than trying to stop people speaking. Oh, look at the big boy. Did your mummy not give you any breakfast this morning? Are you angry with women because you've got mummy issues? Right, would you like to speak? It's just so ridiculous. I'm so cross. No democratic right to bloody talk.
Thank you. Can you hear me? How is that? Yeah. My name is Louise, and I'm speaking in my personal capacity as a woman and a mother. Like many of you, I'm being name-called, attacked, bullied by people whose views are different to mine. Ironically, those calling names and attacking are those who preach kindness, acceptance, tolerance, and inclusion the loudest. I've noticed a few obvious trends. If people disagree with what you say, it's hate speech. If people don't like the information you share, it's misinformation. If you have an opinion that differs to theirs, you must be silenced. I don't believe that the views I hold are radical. I want to share my views with you today. Firstly, everyone, absolutely everyone, deserves the right to live a safe, happy and healthy life. Everyone is equal and everyone should be treated fairly. The vast majority of transgender and gender diverse people are very, very decent people. Sex is real and it is currently impossible to change a person's sex. There has always been a spectrum when it comes to how different people present themselves, such as females who are more masculine and men who are more feminine. Wait for this one. Trans women are trans women. They remain biological men. Women are women. And I personally find the cis unnecessary and offensive. Everyone, including transgender people, should have the ability to enjoy and compete safely in sport. It is unfair and unsafe for biological men to compete in women's sporting categories, especially after puberty and in physical sports. Every space, opportunity and award that goes to a biological man from the female category is one taken away from a woman. Gender dysphoria is real and can cause great distress. It is possible that trying to change your gender or become non-binary is a way for some people to gain attention and stand out.
I'm one of those people, and I'm telling you that you're not welcome here.
It is right.
I'm non-binary, and I'm saying you're not welcome.
It is right to ask questions and demand evidence when it comes to putting kids on puberty blockers and fake hormones, given they have significant implications. It is right to ask questions and demand evidence when it comes to teenagers having major irreversible surgery, such as their forearms massacred to create fake penises and their healthy breasts removed. It is essential to support and research detransitioners. While the majority of men are decent, kind and caring people, men present an inherent danger to women. The vast majority of sex offenders and violence perpetrators are men. 1 in 10 women, Australian women, have experienced violence at the hands of a stranger. 1 in 5 Australian women has experienced sexual violence. You can't be raped with a penis if there is no penis present. You can't be overpowered by a man who has the strength and the power of a post-puberty man if there is no man present. You can't feel uncomfortable undressing in front of a man if there is no man present. It is completely understandable that women would want spaces for female-only spaces, especially vulnerable areas like change rooms, toilets, showers. It is absolute insanity that we have a law that allows a man at 10 a.m. to declare he's a woman and by 11 a.m. showering and sharing change rooms with young girls. That is freaking nuts. The women before me and around me have fought hard for women's fair rights and now they are being demolished. You may agree with what I've said, you may not. That's natural and to be expected. As a society, we must be able to debate important issues and respect differences without threats, attacks, name-calling, vandalism, and attempts to get people silenced and cancelled. Thank you.
Who's the Premier here? What's his name? Who's the Premier here? Who's the Premier? Who's in charge?
The Premier.
What? Rockcliffe. This is a message for Premier Rockcliffe. This is under your watch. Jeremy Rockcliffe, this is under your watch, and whoever the Chief of Police of Hobart is, this is under yours. You put women in danger. That's what's happening. These children are pretending they identify as deaf. So what you've got in front of me is you've got children who get really upset when you say women don't have penises, when you say no man has a vagina, when you point to giant men like that who be in space with your daughter. Him! Look! That guy right there! See him? He's in space with your daughters. That's what this is. Violent men being given license. There's another one. Look at the state of these men. Absolutely disgusting. And what we have to do as women, we just simply want to talk about the erosion of our rights. And these children come to tell us that we're not allowed to speak. What's the end goal here? Each one of them came out of a vagina belonging to a woman. And now they don't even have the respect just to... If you don't like what we're saying, kids, why don't you just go home? Why don't you just not listen? What's his name again?
Jeremy Rockcliffe.
So to Jeremy Rockcliffe, a supposed liberal, this is what your government have done. This is what you've allowed. You've allowed children that have never heard the word no, and men like that, massive, great big men, use women's spaces, unfettered access. It's absolutely horrendous. Who else would like to speak? Can I just say, you might not be able to hear yourself think, but they will be able to hear.
Yeah, thanks, Phoebe. Yeah. I'd just like to say that I'm one of the people who has welcomed Kellie-Jay to Tasmania, and we are extremely happy to see her. It may not be obvious here. I want to talk about why there are men in women's prisons, why our transgender laws allow fully intact males in women's prisons to rape and bash women. When we started off this process with the transgender laws, what happened is that our government here did not consult with anybody except for the trans people. So most of the Tasmanian population knows next to nothing about what happened. My focus is on prisoners because how prisoners are tells you a lot about democracy and whether we have one here, because we don't.
Get a bit closer to the mic.
Sure. So how did we get here? We got here because the Tasmanian government put through a package of laws without bothering to talk to anybody about it, and those laws have taken away the sex-based rights of women. Those laws have also taken away the rights of lesbians to meet together. These people here shouting, they don't give a shit about women, and they don't give a shit about women prisoners. When we started this process here, the first thing I did was have a bit of a Google. It took me 2 minutes to find a case in the UK where a man who was already a convicted sex offender was on remand for stabbing his neighbour and for rape. And the board that those people have to decide where a prisoner goes put him in the women's prison. And when he was in the women's prison, he was there for 3 months. He raped multiple women. Later on, he admitted to 2 of those rapes. But that's what these laws do. At the beginning of the process here, there were child safety experts, there were women talking about women's rights, I was talking about prisons, and we had nobody listening to us at all. So what I'm worried about in prisons is that we have state-sponsored rape of women, state-sponsored bashing of women, and I don't know if any have died yet, but somebody will soon, and I want to stop that happening. And we can do 2 things to stop that. One is to look at the Anti-Discrimination Act, which discriminates against more people than it helps, and put the word sex in there. As a woman, I need protection under the law because of my sex. Gender doesn't come into it. If women prisoners have the protection of an Anti-Discrimination Act that protects women because of our sex, then those women prisoners will have a chance of arguing against fully intact males being parked in the cell next to them. The other thing that has established the capacity of fully intact males to rape women prisoners is the self-ID situation. Because any man, whoever he is, can decide that he is a woman and be put in the women's prison if he applies. Most women who identify as males don't bother to apply. So let me tell you about prison. Prison is a shit of a place to be. There's rotten food, rotten healthcare. You can't complain about anything. If you complain, you can get extended sentences, you'll lose your capacity to get out earlier, and so on. It's impossible for women to complain about these intact males who are there. The other side of this experience for women prisoners is that the other side of this for women prisoners is that when men come into a women's prison, it makes an enormous difference. Prison is a situation where there are very, very large differences between men and women, and you cannot ignore those differences. Men commit virtually all of the crimes of violence, like these people like. Men commit all the sex crimes, virtually. Women don't. So we have different prisons for men and for women for very good reasons. As soon as you put men in women's prisons, the whole atmosphere changes. When I was in prison, I kept meeting a lot of women who had absolutely no self-esteem and were struggling. If you put men in those prisons, those women will never have a chance.
No, they don't already.
That's right. Most women in Australia's prisons have been sexually assaulted as children, most before the age of 5. They're the women who are really vulnerable. But these young people have no idea what's going on, and you can tell they don't. But they need to think about what all this means in terms of the law. Okay. Men have to stay out of women's prisons. That's what our laws are saying is okay. And the Tasmanian government supports men in women's prisons raping and bashing women. This is not a government I want to have. But there's a positive side to this whole thing. And that is that in Scotland, the leader of the Scottish government resigned when she came up against the fact that everybody could see that women in prison were going to be raped. And we need to continue that process and force people politically to see the obvious. I'll stop there. Thank you, Kim.
They boo the loudest when you mention women. If you say women's rights, they get really cross. No woman has a penis! Thanks. Hi. I'm going to speak.
Let women speak! 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 I'm just going. Hi, can you hear me? Hi. If these trans rights activists would shut up for 1 second and stop proving exactly our point, that they won't listen to a word that women have got to fucking say, you'd be able to hear me. They have done this at every Let Women Speak rally in Australia. Shame on you. I'd like to acknowledge that we gather today on the glorious lands of the Palawa people, and that it was never ceded to the brutal invasion that they've survived. I'm speaking. I am a feminist. I am a woman. I grew up in a typical white Aussie Christian suburban environment, and I have spent a lifetime understanding how patriarchy operates. So shut the fuck up and learn a thing or fucking two. I also wish to pay my respects to the women who came before me, who fought against oppression on the basis of sex in all parts of the world for thousands of years. And we are not going away. Fucking shaking. I did not battle social pressure in my teenage years to stand here and be silenced by Cassie O'Connor lying that I'm a Nazi sympathiser. Shame on her! I did not struggle in my teens, hating my body. It stretches, it smells, and it lumps as I grew into a woman. I did not struggle with the impact of rape on my sexuality and my sexual pleasure to be told by a man just on the steps there that I don't know what it feels like to hate my body. I did not battle through an abusive relationship and leave a patriarchal religion that threatens to kill apostates to be fucking scared of you! And I will not be told that I am closed-minded, darlings! I will not! I did not battle throughout my lifetime to be able to name the abuse of power in this world on the basis of race, on class, and of sex. To be told by my government that any man who wants to can identify into my sex category. I did not spend years deconstructing compulsory heterosexuality to accept being told that lesbians should accept men as lovers and that lesbians can have a penis. I did not spend a lifetime working out that gender is a brutal hierarchy that places girls on top of boys from their very gestation, to be told that amazing, strong, gender non-conforming girls and that wonderful, gender non-conforming boys are the opposite sex. Shame on you! I did not challenge my socialization to be told that children should have puberty halted, preventing the normal physical development from childhood to adulthood, so that we are now creating not take time out from parenting children on my own, spending money while living in poverty, and facing chemical, noise and physical attacks by trans rights extremists in Melbourne, to be scared by you. I did not witness the assaults on women and the assaults on police officers and horses in Melbourne on Saturday to come here and be told that I should shut up and I am not allowed to correct the public record. Shame on you! That may have passed into law in Tasmania and Victoria and possibly Queensland soon, that we must be beholden to an ideology that can and does convince us to ignore our senses and to repeat the mantra, just as you are now, all of you, that trans women are women. We will not participate in your gender religion, even though I support your right to believe whatever the fuck you want. You cannot compel me to believe in your gender religion. Do you think that this male pattern violence you are all exhibiting will shut me up? Just as the world kept orbiting the sun while Galileo was imprisoned by the Roman Inquisition for not submitting to the dogma that the earth was the center of the universe, so men will continue to be men, and no amount of declarations, certificates, laws, threats, assaults, or prison sentences will alter that reality. That is why we come here today to say, repeal the Self-Identification Amendment to the Tasmanian Anti-Discrimination Law Act now. We can discuss the needs of gender non-conforming people in our society without erasing the sex-based rights protected in law that women have fought so long and hard for. And we will continue to fight, though we are outnumbered. Of course, we are small. Look at you, you fucking rabid mob. Shame on you! My head fucking hurts. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Well done, well done. Oh, shut up. Two Greek elected politicians over there joining a mob against women. Two elected politicians over there joining a mob against women. How utterly mental. I'm going to show you who they are. Those two women are elected politicians. Shouting at women. Yeah.
They're the Nazis.
They're the Nazis and they're the two
Look. Elected politicians. Shame on you. You're disgusting.
Cassie O'Connor has called her tech dogs on.
Look at her smug little face. Smug little face. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Can you imagine what it must be like for women to live here? You got the police that won't protect the women. You got the politicians joining in on a mob. You got politicians in this house staring down and watching this. Fucking hell. I thought Scotland was bad. This is the worst place I've ever been for women's rights. This is the worst place. It's absolute. I don't know what do they want us to do? They surrounded us. What do they think we can do? Terrible nose ring. It's a terrible nose ring. Look, they think we're going to stop. What they don't understand is that we will win because we tell the truth. I'm still absolutely shocked that the police, having a great time apparently, not protecting women. The politicians, having a great time staring at a mob, intimidating women. This is the worst place. I've been to Chicago. I've been all around America, Australia. This is the worst place I've ever been. And it's got a Liberal government. Just disgusting. Did you want to speak? Oh, I think this lady next to me.
Hello everybody. Thank you for coming today. It's delightful to see so many supportive faces. And I'd very much like to thank the media who have been so helpful to the voices of women who want to speak out in defence of their rights. There are a small handful of ethical journalists in Tasmania, a very small handful, but I'm not going to name them here today because if I name them, they are going to suffer retaliation, victimisation, and potentially being sacked from their positions, as happened 2 weeks ago to the Examiner editor, Mark Westfield. I am ashamed to say that taxpayers' money is going to fund our previously fondly referred to auntie. ABC is a disgust to the nation. And I feel very sorry for ABC reporters who have to remain silent under the tyranny of the AIDS Council of New South Wales and their thought police. I hope you can find a safe position somewhere else. Didn't think I was going to do that. Okay? Oh. Yeah.
Let women speak.
Can I just say the reason the Green politician is here is because she's trans her own daughter. That's why she supports this, because she's groomed and trans her own kid into being sterile, because she's probably a lesbophobe.
I'm here to speak for women who haven't been able to speak for ages because of this religion, this trans cult who wants to eliminate us. My parents came here 50 years ago as refugees for freedom of speech in this country. And look what this country has become. Women don't have a voice. So the Hobart Women's Shelter on their FAQ page says, we are an independent organisation that support women, but they also allow women who identify as women into a women's only shelter. Into a women's only shelter. A man can come in and in women's skin suit and say they're a woman into a women's only space. Now they're coming for the children. As young as 3, they're socialising them on the W path and Oz path. 10 years old, they're giving them hormone treatment, blocking their natural puberty, saying that this is going to help them. If you try and talk to your child, they say this is conversion therapy. They stick them on hormone blockers at age 10, and then at 16, hormone replacement therapy. There are so many side effects to this treatment, and they know that, but they don't care because they are a part of a cult. OzPath is now recommending that girls 16 years of age have their boobs taken off because the W path recommend it. And they say it's irreversible. How do you reverse your tits being taken off? Let women speak. Let us speak. Trans rights are eliminating women. They are taking our spaces. They are going into women's sports and annihilating us. United States and Canada weightlifting have now allowed men into women's weightlifting. Women's weightlifting, can you believe it? I say to the Tasmanian government, wind back these laws. Wind them back. Get these men in women's skin suits out of our spaces. Get them out of our shelters. Get these toddlers away from us. The police, I thought, were supposed to keep us separate. We had 2 permits, one for them and one for us. But look what the police have let happen here. They've let these people surround us, back us into a corner. This is a security issue. I've mentioned this to the police several times and they couldn't give a shit. I'm fucking sick of it. Fucking sick of it. Let women speak. Fuck you lot. And I'd like to thank Posie Parker, Kellie-Jay for coming here and allowing this event to take place. Thank you so much. Sorry, I've got a bit of emotion.
Hi, boys. We got grooming mothers to the left of me. Hideous, hideous men to the right. They're annoyed because I have a house with no mortgage. Really big house, no mortgage, lifelong job prospects. The police, let me just say this, the police are outnumbered and ridiculous. A green politician over there has been giving me the finger because she's lesbophobic and she transitioned her own daughter. These women who transition their children are Munchausen's by proxy abusers. Oh, there she is, the groomer's right behind me. The Green politician. She's not worried about the climate because her daughter won't live past her first heart attack. Now she's riddled with testosterone. I'm just absorbing this. You've got massive blokes who've been taking estrogen with fake breasts, and you can still see their dicks. You've got really unattractive, weird-looking blokes over there. You've got young women who are very animated. They hate us, but they will become us. I'm telling you, the police have been the worst here than anywhere I've ever visited. The politicians are just fucking nuts. There's a Green politician here who's riddled her daughter with testosterone, whose daughter will be infertile and sterile, soon will have vaginal atrophy, then she'll have her womb removed, then she'll be closer to Alzheimer's and cancer and heart failure and heart attacks. And for what? So her mummy could get a seat in government? Absolutely outrageous. I would fucking hang my head in shame if I was in Parliament here. Even the admin staff are quite happy with this group of twats coming to try and stop women speaking. Unbelievable. Go on then, you carry on shouting when a woman with disabilities talks. You carry on, boys. You sit down, I'll move the cameras. Look. Oh my God. Booing a disabled woman. Great look, boys. Great look. Why? They're now booing a woman with a stick who can't stand.
Respected the fact that I was in San Francisco during the AIDS crisis, a little closer. It would be nice if some of the young people respected the fact that I was in San Francisco working during the AIDS crisis. And that I worked on a lot of bills in the United States to advance gay rights and to advance feminist interests. And I worked a lot with gay men who felt that catching AIDS was so inevitable because they had been taught so much to be ashamed of who they were that they didn't do anything to keep themselves safe.
Check your microphone.
They didn't do anything to keep themselves safe because they didn't feel that they were worth it. So I would like some of the people who are telling me that I should feel shame to take that in that light. I do not feel shame. I have been in this for more than 40 years. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to feel shame for something that I've been passionate about, that I'm knowledgeable about, and I'm here to speak because I know what I know. I want to start by saying that women cannot be perfect. We cannot 100% control the narrative, and even if we could, we would be misrepresented because we are not allowed to speak for ourselves or exist for ourselves. I would like to start with a quote by Andrea Dworkin. I would like to see in this movement a return to what I call primitive feminism. It's very simple. It means that when something hurts women, feminists are against it. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, I remember first hearing about Renee Rinsteds. It may have been Christine Jorgensen, I don't remember the era. As a consequence, I told my mother I was going to have a sex change when I grew up. She was very clear that I would not.
Thankfully, I got older, discovered my budding passion for women and all the joys of being one. But as a child with all the neuroatypical traits which would have sent me down a medicalized pathway had I not been born in this day and age, I am highly empathetic of the many girls and young women who are not being given the time that I was. Another of the reasons I feel so passionately about the current state of lesbian existence is I have the privilege of many women. Sorry, my mouth gets very dry. I had the privilege of many women-only spaces to explore my many selves in. I've read about many young lesbians being gaslighted into accepting males. Thank you. If you could unclip that. Gaslighted into accepting males in their spaces and even their beds. I feel anger that our institutions, the ones we built, are no longer protecting our girls, little baby dykes, the way we used to. I feel hard-pressed as to where and how to start over, because it would have to be in secret, and the young women are so indoctrinated, it's unclear if anything would come of it. How did we get here? I envision societies as concentric circles, the hub of power being concentrated in the center, the dead center. Because it hoards power, its conservatism keeps it from change and vitality. So it sweeps the boundaries where society is at its most dynamic for the seemingly transgressive or the transgressive adjacent, for anything that could be recuperated back in the dominant paradigm. In this way, patriarchy has kept itself relevant for millennia. It nurtures and supports those seemingly transgressive elements, sometimes giving itself a pat on the back for its progressive ideals, other times maintaining an outward appearance of disapproval while greasing the skids behind the scenes. Gender nonconformity and the reemergence of male mothering. On the surface, gender nonconformity is a feminist goal. I remember embracing it myself. And for decades, there were positive shifts in children's clothing and toys, less restrictive dress for both men and women. But then came the backlash with the capital B. By then, we'd already had capitalist changes in language. Procreation became reproduction. Women were no longer creators of life. We reproduced it, as if we were putting together a car on an assembly line, not knitting the very flesh and bones of children from the epic interactions of every system of a uniquely complex female body. This power over new life has to be stolen from us again and again. Women's control over our own procreative body is disrupted in both literal and figurative ways. Transgenderism takes female bodies and makes them meaningless, subsumed within a feminine construct, which any form can wear. Mother right is, as with the Father God who engenders himself, no longer an existential challenge to father right. Everything cis women can do, male trans women can do better, including, we're now told, giving birth. A non-material axis. Never mind that cis and trans is a confected axis of oppression, designed expressly to make women the oppressors of men. Let me repeat that. cis and trans is a confected axis of oppression designed expressly to make women the oppressors of men. Forget that oppression requires a structural material extraction of benefits taken from the oppressed class, which then flow to the oppressor class. Ask what these material benefits are of someone using cis and trans and listen to them sputter. Women spent years back in the days of card catalogs researching and studying women's oppression. Then along came postmodernists in the internet age and inverted the whole dynamic in men's favor with some free-floating constructs. Postmodernists haven't really come up with something new. Women from much of history never existed. I think it was Virginia Woolf who said Anonymous was a woman. When I had my feminist enlightenment, I started reading everything I could find by women. My mother queried me as if whether I read anything by men. I told her I'd spent the last decade or so reading primarily men and thought I'd read women for the next decade and then decide from there. Men don't have that problem. From the very beginning, theirs is the hero's journey. Women are naively led to believe we are the other characters, at least the fair maiden to be one. But the real characters populating their dramas are other men. At best, we're the bull. Ironically, in real life, our function is the stage which elevates them, or the background which foregrounds them, the better for them to be seen or heard. When transgenderism was making a sole superior claim on Western progressive political thought, my thought was an absolute open goal. They were handling a generation of increasingly socially aggrieved males. A trump card against any and all females who have the temerity to be the props which suddenly start talking and having lives of our own, when we are supposed to say in our place as the passive scenery. No wonder why they view women existing as genocidal Nazis. When they say trans rights are human rights, a thought-terminating cliche, by the way, most of us would agree to their having liberty rights, to not being discriminated against in housing, employment, provisions of services, etc., etc. But where we clash our claim or treaty rights, which are restricted to certain groups of people who may need special rights or remedies for historic or current discrimination and oppression. They allow discrimination in favor of or for a selected protected group, provided the individual qualifies. For example, as a woman with a disability, I am covered by the UN Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women and the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. I could talk more about how this movement has separated its youth from its elders and rationalized so many logical fallacies in service of male sexual license. And how great it would be to see all of us focused on our planet, especially the youth who are so frightened of the coming climate collapse that they can only look inward, which I can hardly blame them for. I wish I didn't feel so isolated by what I understand to be true, and the unkindness of the call to be kind, when no one seems to care about the absolute heart-wrenching despair it is to see the passion of my entire life scuppered, demonized, and made unspeakable. But then kindness, like caring, is something women put into the world without any expectation of being on the receiving end. I'd like to finish with a quote from a poem. Yeah, almost. This is from a poem, just a few. I am a woman committed to a politics of transliteration, the methodology of a mind stunned at the possible shifts of meaning, for which, like amnesiacs in a ward on fire, we must find words or burn.
Well, the boys came out, didn't they? Vaginal atrophy, impotence, sterility. That's what you all stand for. The loss of sexual function, the loss of women's spaces. Well done, boys. And some of you older women, just quite ridiculous. They say there's some women in the crowd who've transitioned their children, and they're going, we can't hear you, because I'm not fucking talking to them. So, there's a groomer. There you are, groomer. So there's a woman over there, green politician. She's transitioned her daughter. Oh, I'd imagine she's a lesbophobic, evil woman. So her daughter's transitioned, and her daughter will thank her in years to come when she's got no womb, no fertility. So, if you can stand in this fucking madness, and you can keep your nerve, then I promise we will win. If you remember throughout the entirety of human history, the truth will always out. I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Because I've paid off my mortgage. Do you know why else we're going to win? Because you silly little children are